So this is basically how the form looks like. So you basically you have to put in box A, election effective date. So when your S corporation was effective, and you put the name, the address, the zip code, everything. The state and city, everything. And in box D, you put your EIN, and E, date incorporated, which is different from the date you actually elected S corporation status, and you put your total assets. And then you have to, for on line G, you have to put the right sort of the right category. So in this case, we put for line H, we put this is the final return. But if anything else is applicable to you, you have to check that. And you have to enter the number of shareholders who are shareholders during any part of the tax year. In our case, we had 10 shareholders. And you have to also check if you have aggregated activities for Section 465 at risk purposes. And if you have any question about line J, let us know in the comment section, and we'll certainly explain that to you. Okay. So gross receipts here, we just going into the information real quick here. And basically, a gross receipt will put the amount less the returns and allowances, and you put the balance. And every number I'm giving you here, those numbers are coming from your income statements. In other words, your P&L. Okay. Gross profits, line 3. Line 4, net gain or loss from Form 4797. Line 5, other income. Line 6, total income. So this is actually how much your S corporation actually generated this year, 1 million in our case. And so that's for income. For expenses, we have compensation of officers. Line 7, line 8, salaries and wages. Line 9, repairs and maintenance. Line 10, bad debts. Line 11, rents. Line 12, taxes and licenses. Line 13, interest. Line 14, depreciation from Form 4562, not claimed on Form 1125A or elsewhere on the return. Line 15, not applicable here. Line 16, advertising, all the way through line 22, ordinary business income or loss. So this is actually you are all the way to line 21 rather. And line 22, this is where you have your ordinary business income, $500,000 in our case. So I want to show you real quick here. Business activity code, that's the next actually screenshot. So this is actually here where you actually find your number to put on Form 1120S. Okay, if you go back to Form 1120S, you will see that they ask you for your business activity code, and you have to actually find the right amount, for the right number, if you will, for your corporation. Okay. And one thing also I want to show you. So this is the second screenshot for business activity codes. And I'm also showing you Form 1125A, cost of goods sold. And I'm showing you another form here, 4797, sales of business property. By the way, boss, welcome back to the show. It's really a pleasure to have you here. Make yourself comfortable. You are going to enjoy today's conversation. Moving on, I want to show you here tax and payments. So we have here line 23A. So not applicable. 23B, not applicable. And a 24A, here you have to put actually the current year's estimated tax payments, and the preceding year's overpayment credit to the current year. So, in our case, it amounted to $425,000. And the tax deposited with Form 7004 will be $25,000. So when you actually add those two on line 24Z, you actually have $450,000. And so the amount owed here is $50,000. And so the overpayment, there's no overpayment. And so there's no refund. Okay. So basically, this is how you actually analyze your form. The reason why we have 50,000 is because if you remember the total taxes. Let's go back quickly to I want to show you on the screen here. I'm showing you real quick so you have a clear idea how we got the 50,000. I'm showing you 1 second here. So you have on the screen here right now, you have at the bottom, if you see it, line 22, you have ordinary business income or loss, half a million, right? So basically, if you look at if you go back to what I showed you earlier, so basically you are estimated tax penalty, like when you add lines to 24A through 24D, imagine that you actually you paid 450 and you owed 50,000. In other words, you're the in this case the amount paid is kind of similar. I mean, the amount owed is kind of similar to your net income because of, again, we, for sake of simplicity here, we just say that you owe 500,000 and you actually paid 450, and so you owed $50,000 left. At the bottom here, you put your title. You have to put the signature of the officer, the date, everything. And if you want the IRS to discuss this return with a paid preparer, you want to put the paid preparer's information at the bottom here. Okay, and it's one of those things where you have to be as granular as possible. And also, I want to show you there's a Schedule B, other information, where you provide information about your S corporation. And line 2 here, line 1, we have the accounting method is accrual, and line 2, you put the business activity and the product or service, and fill out the rest of the data. Boss, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We are having a conversation about Form 1120S. Moving on here on line 5A all the way through 11B, you actually put not 11B, 5A through 11A. You put whatever is applicable. In our case, we put the no. But if anything is yes in your case, please put it. Okay, it's one of those things where you have to be as granular as possible to the IRS, with the IRS rather. And I want to show you another screenshot here. Schedule B, other information. So from line 12 all the way through line 16, none of this is applicable to our S corporation. And now I want to talk to you about Schedule K. So Schedule K is actually pretty interesting because that's the data that actually goes on to Schedule K1 that goes to every S corporation owner here. So Schedule K, you have line 1, ordinary business income. So 500,000. If you remember, it was 500,000. And so basically from line 2 all the way through line 10, there's none of it that's applicable to us. And section 179 deduction in our case here, it amounted to 50,000, and charitable contributions 10 grand, and investment expenses, investment interest expense 20 grand. So basically, moving on, I'm showing you on the screen from line 13A all the way to line 16A. None of it is applicable to our hypothetical S corporation here. And I'm showing you, so Schedule K from line 17A all the way through 17D, none of it, there's no amounts here. Then I'm just showing you what things look like, so you have a clear idea what every form looks like. So you have Schedule L here, balance sheet per books. So we're talking about assets, liabilities, and owner's equity. And then I'm showing you Schedule M1, reconciliation of income loss per books with income loss per return. And Schedule M2, analysis of accumulated adjustments accounts, shareholders' undistributed taxable income previously taxed, accumulated earnings and profits and other adjustment accounts. Now, so basically here, everything here, if you have to fill out formulas, if you have to fill out Schedule M1 or Schedule M2, let us know in the comment section. If you have any question, we'll certainly explain, or you can just reach out to a tax attorney or a CPA or an enrolled agent for help, or you can just use the tax software to file this form too. So let me give you the overview you need to really pay attention to here. When we talk about completing Form 1120S and Schedule K1, it's important to really understand that you want to gather the necessary information for that Form 1120S, okay? We're talking about details about your S corporation or limited liability company. And so this includes the name of the business, the date the S incorporated, the S corporation incorporated, the date of your S Corp election, your mailing address, and your EIN. And so P&L statement, that's for sure. By the way, P&L is also known as an income statement. So you have a clear idea. You give the IRS a clear idea about your expenses and income items, balance sheet reports, fixed asset purchases report, payroll expenses report, capital accounts, loans, and Forms 1099. So step 1. Step 2, you want to fill out Form 1120S General Information section. So we're talking about fiscal year, S corporation election date, business activity code, item C. So we're speaking about You're talking about everything that really revolves around the operation of the S corporation. Step 3, you want to fill out Form 1120S income and deductions section, right? So we're speaking about income and everything that really, it's like revenue, like cash inflow and cash outflow. So here we're speaking about everything from compensation of officers, salaries and wages. We have taxes and licenses, yeah, interest expenses, depreciation, pension, profit sharing plans. You have employee benefits programs and other deductions depending on the operations of your business. It's one of those things where again you have to every company is different, but whatever you claim, you want to make sure that you have proper. You gotta have proper, like a proper documentation, because the last thing you want is that if the IRS was like, if they start asking questions, you want to make sure that you can answer all questions satisfactorily. Otherwise, when you start stuttering, you might really land in trouble, and you do not want to have that. By the way, boss, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We are having a conversation about Form 1120S. Step number 4, you want to fill out Form 1120S tax and payment section. So, the purpose of this section is to really calculate the federal taxes that apply if the corporation was, let's say, if the corporation was previously a C Corp or engaged in a tax-free reorganization with a C Corp. And so you will list the estimated taxes paid during the year and overpayments applied from the previous year. And you can actually leave this section blank if your S corporation has never previously filed a tax return, the C Corp. And so S corporations might have a federal tax liability on line 22A through 27. And again, we're talking here about excess net passive income tax and built-in gains tax. And step number 5, you want to fill out Form 1120S Schedule K. And it's one of those things where we're speaking about the form Schedule K is split into 4 sections. You have income, you have income or loss, you have business income, you have rental real estate income. So if your company earns money by renting real estate to a third party, that activity must be reported on Form 8825, and the net income reported on line 2 of Schedule K, rental income and expenses, shouldn't be included on page 1 of Form 1120S. You also have investment income, so interest, dividend, and royalties income must be reported on line 4 through 6. One thing I want to say here is that when we talk about capital gains and loss, also this must be reported on this form. But it's one of those things where you always have to keep proper paper trail, and so you also have. So I said Schedule K is split into 4 sections: income, deductions, of course, other information, and then you have reconciliation. So line 18, the bottom line is actually a summary of all taxable income and deductions on Form 1120S, and it's calculated by adding lines 1 through 10. So you have a clear idea what's really happening here. Step number 6, you want to fill out Form 1120S Schedule M1. Now, this is what I was showing you a little earlier. So when we talk about Schedule M1, it's important to really understand that this schedule actually reports any differences between the S Corporation's P&L reported on line 18 of Schedule K and its net income from the P&L statements, right? It's one of those things where you have to understand that corporations with less than $250,000 in gross, in both gross receipts and assets are now required to complete Schedule M1. However, we actually encourage you to complete the M1 because it confirms all the income and deduction information that, all that information has been entered on your return. So common differences between book accounting and tax returns reported on Schedule M1 include depreciation, non-deductible expenses, and tax-exempt interest. So those are temporary differences, and they usually trigger something called deferred tax assets and deferred tax liabilities. Okay, because when there are differences between IRS records and US GAAP records, you have those temporary differences. So when we talk about depreciation, the amount you deduct for depreciation on your P&L statement might be different from the amount of depreciation you claim on your tax return. So you might use a straight line depreciation for your books, but modify the accelerated cost recovery system or the Section 179 deduction on the S Corp tax return. For non-deductible expenses, those are actually any expenses deducted on your P&L statement. They are not tax deductible. And then you might also have tax exempt interest. This is interest from municipal bonds, so the munis included in your P&L statement. That's really exempt from federal income tax, okay? And so it's one of those things, again, where if you have any questions, please let us know. And step number 7, you want to fill out Form 1120S Schedule M2. So here, the purpose of this schedule is to show changes in the S Corporation's accumulated adjustments account, so the AAA, the AAA, during the tax year, which is essentially your retained earnings in the company. So the beginning balances on line 1 must match the ending balances from the prior year return, okay? So when we talk about the Schedule M2, I want to give you a few tips here. Income increases must be included. Expenses decreases must be included. Distributions to shareholders, negative balance. So a AAA can have a negative balance, which can happen if an S corporation has been operating at a deficit. And you also want to look at the accumulated earnings and profits. So the amount in column C refers to earnings and profits if the S corporation used to be a C corporation. And it's one of those things, again, when in doubt, the Form 1120S instructions outline specific rules to follow when calculating AAA. So at least you have some kind of a backup guidance there. And then step 8, you want to fill out Form 1120S Schedule L. And so Schedule L provides the IRS with details of the assets, liabilities, and equity of the S corporation. And it's one of those things where you get all the data from the S corporation's balance sheet reports. Step number 9, you want to fill out Form 1120S Schedule B, other information. And Schedule B of 1120S consists of 11 questions that require a yes or no response. And the questions cover a wide variety of topics, such as whether the S corporation owns a stock in other corporations or partnerships, or whether the S corporation has issued restricted stock, okay? And so it's one of, again, if you have any question, let us know, or you can just reach out to a CPA, an EA, or enrolled agent. Step number 10, you want to fill out Form 1120S Schedule D, capital gains and losses. And so let me give you a few tips for completing Schedule D. You have built-in gains tax. If the S corporation used to be a C corporation, the capital gains can be subject to the built-in gains tax or the tax on excess net passive income. You also have information needed for Schedule D. You will need to know details for each investment trade, including the date and cost to purchase an investment and the date and amount of the sales proceeds. And use Form 8849. So use this form to report the details of each specific investment trade. Use Schedule D. Use this form to summarize the gains or losses by short-term and long-term holding periods and to summarize the overall gains for the year. And short-term holding period, we're speaking about if you actually held a security, an investment product for less than a year, and a long-term holding period, we're speaking about more than a year. So the difference is pretty straightforward. Step 11, you want to fill out Form 1120S Schedule K1 for each shareholder. So you have to furnish Schedule K1 by the due date, and those amounts must flow from Schedule K1 to Form 1040. And you have a pass-through nature here because this allocation process is how S corporation income, deductions, and credits pass through to the shareholders' personal tax returns. So at least you have a clear idea what's really happening here. Thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it. In today's conversation, let's do a quick recap here. So I gave you the overview, and then I gave you the different steps you need to follow to actually file your Form 1120S properly. Thank you so much. God bless you. I'll see you next time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.